With the release of Heresy 3.0 right round the corner, there hasn't been a better time for you to jump headfirst into the 31st millennium, especially with the release of the brand new Saturnine box. But with squad sizes consisting of 10 to 20 models, this can be an incredibly daunting task for you to paint up. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to paint up the Sons of Horus nice and quick, so you can have them looking great on the table day one. Let's check it out. Once we have our model built, the first thing I'm going to do is actually work on the base. For this, I'm using Siege Scenics Terra Firma. It's got a bit of an uneven texture, and I'll put this in one or two spots around the model just to give the ground a little bit more dynamic. Remember to give the rim a little cleanup before we prime, which is our next step, which I used Chaos Black for. Any other black should do. Now onto our first paint, which is Lupercal Green from Citadel. Now I am going to be running this through an airbrush and all the colours for the armour through an airbrush. I'm no expert, this is actually maybe the 4th or 5th model that I've actually airbrushed with, so if I can do it, you can certainly do it too. You want to cover all of the armour with this, and you can do this with a brush if you don't have an airbrush. Our next colour, and no surprise here, it is Sons of Horus Green. Going to want to come at this from an almost zenithal angle, but in all honesty, I am looking to cover maybe about 80% of the model with this colour, only leaving the deepest, darkest recesses in the Lupercal Green. Again, you can use a brush for this colour if you want, you're just not going to get those kind of transitions with the airbrush, but again, this is the kind of main colour that you do want to be showing. It's already starting to look pretty good right now, but I want to push those highlights just a little bit further. Using Ice Yellow by the Army Painter, I'm actually just going to drop this directly into the airbrush cap and mix it with the Sons of Horus Green. We're then going to come at it from about a 45-degree angle with the airbrush catching all those raised edges and all those raised parts to really push the highlights a little bit more. This might take a couple of passes, but I do think it really helps to make the models stand out, especially when we weather them later. As you can see, it makes the top of the model a little bit lighter, while underneath it still retains darker shadows. And for a final highlight, I'm going to add an extra couple of drops of Ice Yellow into the cap and come at it from almost a 90-degree angle. Don't worry if this looks a little bit too minty for you, they aren't the Sons of Colgate. This is going to calm down in future steps, but let's move on to some other colours. We're going to move on to black next, and again, to make it nice and quick, we are going to use some contrast paints. This is Citadel Black Legion, and I'm going to do this to block in all of the black details like the left pauldron, any under armour, and the gun casing. Next colour I used was Contrast Wildwood, and this is simply just for the handgun holster on this Marine. Another quick one is Contrast Blood Angels Red, and this is simply for the eye lenses. Metallics next, I'm using Lead Belcher for all of the silver bits. I like to paint the chest straps on the Mark 6 with silver as well, which we'll see a bit later because I forgot to do it at this stage. The last metallic is gold. I'm using Greedy Gold by the Army Painter, and this is simply for the bonding studs on the left pauldron. This is a nice and quick stage. If you end up with a little bit of gold on the black pauldron, then don't worry, we can always cover that up with the Black Legion contrast paint again. With all the colours now done, we can move on to transfers. Add a little bit of water to the transfers and then grab your trusty mix of Micro Sol and Micro Set and apply them to any areas of the armour that you wish to put transfers on. If you'd like a more in-depth explanation on how I apply transfers, then let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, give me a like and a subscribe. As a new channel, I would really appreciate it. With the base coats down and the transfers on, we can move on to the stage that's really going to elevate this model. I take AK Interactive Streaking Grime and apply it directly to the model. We want to get this absolutely everywhere and make sure that it seeps into all of the recesses, into all the nooks and crannies, because this is going to add shadow to our model. Be sure to use an old brush because enamels will completely ruin your nice ones, and if you're a brush licker, don't do it with this. I usually leave it for around 15 minutes, go make myself a coffee or something like that before going back in with some mineral spirits to remove the excess streaking grime. I like to use these little makeup remover sponges, but you can also use some cotton buds dipped into mineral spirit. And you don't want to completely remove all of the streaking grime, you just want to kind of tap it on the armour just to get rid of the excess on some of the flat panels. But in all honesty, Leave as much as you want, depending on how dirty you want the model to look. Because we're working with spirits as well, do this in a well-ventilated room. After the removal stage, this is what the model will start to look like, and in my opinion, I think it's starting to look great. All of the highlights have kind of dumbed down a little bit, especially those super bright highlights on the top, and the darker recesses have gotten darker. At this point, we are nearly done, but we're going to add a little bit more weathering using Rhinox hide and an old sponge. Moving the excess from the sponge on a paper towel, we're going to want to dab this on some of the areas where weathering and battle damage would turn up the most. So we're looking at areas like the bottom of the legs, the edges of the shoulders and stuff. And the trick with this is usually to go a little bit lighter than you would expect, but much like all of the rest of the model, it is personal preference, so go as light or as heavy on the weathering as you want. I also used a brighter red just to give the eye lenses a little bit more of a pop. Turning our attention to the base now, I'm going to use a very watered down corn red to cover the terrain and all of the base. This acts as a great undercolor for the technical Martian iron earth, which is going to give a really cool crackling effect once it's dried. Be careful not to get this on the model, and remember folks, always glue your model down properly. With the Mini definitely secured now, we're going to move on to a bright silver and just simply dry brush this over any of the metal areas and the gun casing, just again to add a little bit more weathering and interest. Now at this point, you can just colour the rim whichever colour you would like to match your army and call it a day. But there's another couple of stages that I'm going to add which I think really elevate the model. I take Vallejo Burnt Umber pigment and a really old brush as well, and I just start dabbing this all across the base and the Mini's legs and feet. This is not only going to help add to the weathering, but it's also going to kind of ground your model in this red, dead environment. It'll make him look like he's been fighting those pesky loyalist Marines and hasn't had a chance to go clean his nice green armor. And finally, let's add some dead grass to this already dead planet to really make the base come together. And with that, he's ready to watch the galaxy burn and to serve the War Master. Let's take it to the light box. I hope this tutorial has helped you get your army together quicker and ready for Heresy 3.0. If you'd like to see me tackle any of the other legions, let me know down in the comments below, and a subscribe and a like would really be appreciated. Until next time, see you later.